Thank you. Great. $3.8 trillion. That's what the federal government spends every year, and that's managed through the thousands of bills that come through Congress every year. Billions are spent lobbying and trying to influence that industry. K Street and the lobbyists focus their message like a laser on the policies that they want to affect. But the voices of the people are frequently unfocused and diffused. The pipeline in is busted. Messages are not getting through. And the platforms that exist today are not built for constituent communication. Twitter's great, but not for constituent communication. Popvox is built to answer the needs of three players: the interest groups, Congress, and the people. The team knows this world because we come from it. Popvox takes the voice of the people and focuses down into areas, into key pressure points where it can actually have an effect. Here's how it works. A bill is introduced in Congress and it automatically feeds into Popvox and creates a profile on the site. Groups come and weigh in to say whether they endorse or oppose and upload their positions, and they move their membership to take action. Individuals come and say, I support or I oppose, and those messages are sent electronically to Congress. And then that's spit out in an API and lots of other methods to affect the debate, and it remains public, searchable, sortable on the site. This is, for the first time, business intelligence for bills. This is all of the information that a legislator or the media needs to make a decision about a bill. It's a freemium revenue model. Input is always free. There's a pro and enterprise version to help make decisions. Think about it as a deal room for legislation. Now we can all be in on the deal.
Thank you, Marcy.
I'm about to run off stage. Sorry.
That's all right. So you mentioned in the presentation that your team has a lot of experience. So, I mean, this is a really complicated world.
Right.
What is that experience?
So I am a former congressional staffer. Rashna, our chief marketing officer, is a former lobbyist. And Josh Tauber, our CTO, is the man when it comes to congressional data. He built a site called GovTrack that was the first to scrape legislative data from the Library of Congress, and basically every site you've heard of that deals with legislative data uses his data.
Oh, I think I saw that at Personal Democracy Forum.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love the idea. How do you make money?
So what you saw with the revenue model is that there's the free basic model that allows everyone to come put their input in. We know that we have to have a really rich data source. We have to have people coming to the site to make people want to come to the site. But the enterprise model is some really sophisticated set of tools that's already, the dashboard has already been built and is being used by legislative staff to allow them to populate lists of bills in certain key issue areas. There are other services that allow contacting members through the site, et cetera. It's a pro version. It's a legislative dashboard for the government affairs professionals. We've been told that there's a real need for a low-cost provider of this service, that a lot of the government affairs professionals, there's tens of thousands of dollar versions, but there's not a few $1,000 a year versions of those.
Do you think this could be a two-way street where voters can express their concerns to the legislature, but the congressman can also send messages the other way, so it goes both ways?
So it's a great question. We actually have it set up on the site where legislators can, and their staff can upload a bill position, and that can show up before a constituent takes action. But there's a real reason that the messages actually have to go to Congress, which are the franking limitations of Congress. They can't respond to a constituent unless they're doing so to an incoming message because of the limitations of the franking regulations in Congress. So they actually have to come into the office and they then use the congressional platform to send out those messages to respond to citizens.
Even electronically? Seriously?
All sorts of regulation.
You know, I've talked to many people about why something like this hasn't been done before, and they always say, you know what, Congress, you can have it. Every time we've tried to design a system for them, we come up against a cultural or a regulatory issue, and you can have it. And so that's why having a team with the experience of being on the inside makes a big difference.
Well, and a lot of these laws, I figured out when I was doing some work a couple of years ago, a lot of the laws that are in place were way before the internet. So,
Right.
so they just slap old laws on a new medium and totally like stifle any sort of real conversation that we can have with the government. Like,
It's founded in the franking privilege, their ability to send mail for free to constituents.
Yeah.
They didn't want incumbents to overuse it and create an advantage.
So can you talk a little bit about maybe the social component and how the voters
Sure.
on the other side, and if there are any regulations that prohibit that from happening, but how they're using the site today, and then also maybe a bit about the impact. You said that, you know, that one of the great benefits of a business is that they can have true impact on
Right.
Congress and on legislation. So I'd love to hear about those aspects.
Sure. So voters come in and they actually take action on particular bills. This is not a random save the environment, balance the budget message going in. It's very important that they come in and they take action on a specific bill. And they say, I support or I oppose, and then they leave a message. And all of that is aggregated into a bill report, which basically shows the sentiment of the voters and you can drill down into the specific district or into the state, so that if somebody's trying to make a point to a specific representative, they can say, this is the support in your district. And all of those comments are public on the site. So anybody can go through and see the comments and say, hey, this resonates with me, I'd like to share it. So you can share via email, you can share via Twitter or Facebook, and that blasts out. People can follow the link, go to the site, read the comment that meant something to them, and then take action on the bill. So it's a way to build support based on those stories that until now we're just going into the black box of a congressional office, no matter how touching or moving, and you never heard from them again.
So how do consumers find out about this, other than the social strategy that you have?
Sure. So our traffic right now is coming primarily from a link on GovTrack, which is the site that Josh built to provide information about the bills. And people who are going there to research bills get a link that says, go take action on Popvox, and they follow it. We're also getting a lot of direct, just curious interest, and people are linking from blogs and news sites. And then we're also finding through the social networks, through the sharing of the comments, people are finding the site. We're reaching out to the organizations because this is really a tool for organizations that are trying to build and show the public support for the issues that they're moving on. They already have very sophisticated methods of organizing massive lists to take action. This for them is providing an independent verified metric of the support that they're claiming to have. So it's really a tool for the organizations.
Do you have any data on how much they're willing to pay for this service? And if you got every single one of them, how much would that add up to?
That's a great question. They're very different sizes of these organizations. So everything from an ad hoc group of citizens that gets together and they would pay the basic pro package of a $10 a month fee to get the tools, to organizations with 15 million plus lists that would pay a much higher price. So this would be based on the actual size of the organization. I don't have the number for if we had every organization in the book on board, because the numbers of the membership is actually not existent. But the amount of money that's spent in grassroots lobbying right now is approximately $3 billion. So
True, but that's for advertising and also lobbying.
No,
and
that's
also
actually
for-
absent advertising. That's the outreach to individuals and trying to get people to take action. There's a lot of that that's wasted. There's a lot of that that's bloated. There's a lot of that that needs to be changed.
And do you have a sense yet as to the dynamics of the user usage? So is it really in the moment versus being sticky? Is it hot button? This particular issue is super important to me, and so
Yeah.
therefore it's the one and done kind of phenomenon?
It's all of the above, but let me kind of give you a picture of what we envision the best use case being of this. When you read an article and you think to yourself, I care about this, or you go and you hear a story, or somebody tells you, hey, my daughter was affected by this issue, and there's a bill, and if they would just pass it, you're moved. And you want to take action, but you're not going to be an activist on the issue. You're not going to go have the meetup and, write in, or you don't want to write into Congress every month, but you want to make sure that you're just on the record on it saying, hey, I support this. And the fact that Popvox creates that one folder, that one piece of metadata on the bill so that you know whether it gets voted on next week or next year, your voice is in there, it's in the pie chart, and it's counted. That's the way that you actually take action and feel. So whether you're the guy who wants to come back and make sure you voted on absolutely every bill that's pending, we've got a few of those, or you're really moved on an issue and just want to make sure you're on the record there, Popvox has got something for you.
I know it's confusing. I mean, as a voting citizen, it's totally in Canada. It's confusing there too, but it's
Coming
confusing.
soon.
But it's very confusing to know what the issues are. Get that education on it, but also like to hear the regular public opinion, not just the people that are yelling on Twitter,
Right,
which
right.
that's where I get, unfortunately, most of my news on political issues these days. So.
Well, let me tell you a little bit how we address that. We show the positions of the organizations that endorse or oppose the bills with their official statements on it. So that's actually the information that legislative staffers are getting. It's not our unbiased view of the legislation because we couldn't do that. But we can tell you what the source is and we can show you what people are saying, and that's what staffers and members are making their decisions on. So you have access to that information. And then, like you said, showing the other user stories and what other people have to say about it, just really giving people a place to find all of the information in one place. And then providing suggestions based on action that you took on previous bills, kind of in the Netflix model. You wanted to save the whales, would you also like to save the dolphins?
Excellent. So you are currently bootstrapped, or are you funded?
We had some friends and family money and some seed funding from the Tim O'Reilly Family Trust. Thank you, Tim.
Nice. Well, it's a good person to have behind you. Have you talked to Good Capital at all?
No.
Okay. I'll
Sounds
that
good.
introduction.
Sounds good. Yeah.
So you guys have any other questions for Marcy? Are you good?
I was in college, I was an intern for a United States Senator, and after I worked for a different one, my experience there was that voters tend to be one-issue voters. And because of that, the feedback that you get is very narrow and on one issue only, and then they go away. So most senators and congressmen tend to ignore that feedback. So is there any evidence that when you collect all of this data that it will actually result in any impact?
So there's 2 points to that. The first is focusing it on a bill rather than just, something general. This is actually a bill that, and quantifying the support behind it is very helpful for a staffer. When I told a staffer that the only input on Popvox was through a bill, they were like,
And
thank
your
you.
second point is going to have to wait.
Oh, the second point was so good.
Your second point will have to wait till maybe tomorrow.
It's being public, the fact that they can't ignore it.
Great.
Thank you, Marcy.